Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Djellab channel. I hope you guys are doing very well and had a fantastic weekend. I, for one, did not because of the Chelsea score, but we will get on to that. Kieran Carlin, how was your weekend?
It was good. I went vintage shirt shopping. Didn't buy this one already.
This is a nice number, though.
Yeah.
Denar. Oh, well, I thought it said D.
He's Algerian.
Oh!
Yeah, Ali Benarbia, icon.
Oh, where did he play?
Midfield.
Oh, well, not too bad.
I've completely forgotten now, but...
Was this a Prem kit? Or was this or was this when you were in League One or something?
Well, that's rude. No, I'm pretty sure Prem.
Okay, nice. Just, I'm just wondering. The three stars for nothing. They
for fun.
Wow. They were literally there for no reason. Henry Hill, how are you doing, buddy?
Yeah, good. Thank you. On a previous show on the Djellab channel, a lot of you were guessing my middle name. It wasn't Featherington. It wasn't Archibald or Hugo. You're on the right lines. There's a hyphen in there. That's the clue.
Tell them what the first letter is.
No, there's two names and there's a hyphen in the middle.
Give them the first letter of the first name.
I'm not.
I don't actually know it.
It gives it away.
Okay.
It better be an H.
But yeah, think action hero is what I'm going to say.
Oh, yes. Yeah, now I remember. Well, talking about action, there was plenty of it last night, that's for sure. Thank you very much. Arsenal versus Liverpool was the main talking point. Obviously, a huge game, I think, if we're looking at the league. Liverpool could have gone quite clear towards the top. I think City have 2 games in hand. You guys play as well tonight.
Yeah, boy.
As well. Who are you playing?
Brentford. Who did the double over us last year.
And Ivan Toney's back as well, isn't it? Is it at home or away?
Away.
Ooh,
and I think our other game in hand is them as well.
Yeah, it is. So that's going to be interesting.
That's 6 points. It's 6 points
for City.
Yeah,
let's be quite honest here. But we did see Arsenal turn victorious yesterday in a 2-1 victory, in which was a quite 3-1 victory. Yes, you are correct. I do apologise. In a 3-1 victory, in which was quite a fun game, I thought, to watch. As the neutral, anyway. I think if you were a fan of either club, it would have been quite stressful. Arsenal, the deserved winners, you think, Henry?
Yeah, absolutely. I thought they really stuck it on Liverpool. Liverpool's goal in the first half just came from some sloppy errors at the back. I mean, not the highest quality of goals throughout this match. Quite a few.
There wasn't. It was. I feel like they were much better than Liverpool and deserved the win. But technically, if you're looking at the goals, it was like they beat us as well with a deflection. I'm like, it's finally happening for them, and luck is sort of what you make of it. But I wouldn't put it down as like they absolutely annihilated them.
Yeah,
but they won, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, to Arsenal's credit, they did. They utilised the crowd.
They were easily the better team.
Still playing top of the league. In a game they really felt like a must-win for Arsenal in order to maintain pace in this title challenge. And yeah, they played the better football. I think even Havertz had a great game in midfield. I think everyone played their part in what was a really...
It was like a 4-4-2, wasn't it?
Absolutely. I think everyone played their part in what was a really solid performance against what... if you give it Liverpool an inch, they can get away with you. And they did have a few chances in the second half. We did see them pushing, but yeah, I think it was a really professional performance from Arsenal and quite refreshing. And yeah, as you said, quite an exciting game between two top sides, great atmosphere. I was in North London watching it and everywhere was going bonkers. It was quite fun.
No, I think you're right, Hannah, mate. It was really good. I think sometimes when you have like such high quality teams, the only way you can score a goal sometimes is through an error. Like it's relying on a little bit of luck to kind of go your way. And the obviously the second goal that Arsenal scored with Van Dijk and Alisson was so unlike them. Who do you think is at fault there? Because I saw some people blaming Van Dijk that he should have tried to clear it earlier, Kieran. Then I saw some people saying that Alisson should have done it, but then also there's a little shove from Martinelli in the build-up towards it that kind of pushes Van Dijk into Alisson's way, hits his foot.
I think it's a really effective shove.
It is. Yeah. It's not a foul, is it?
No. I think it's sort of the one. It's not entirely impossible that it's technically a good goal. In terms of, he sort of shoved him in a way that Alisson can't absolutely twat him.
Yeah.
So he's sort of gone, I've done it many a time. When the ball's coming, you sort of go, just
Push him away.
Little dinosaur arms.
Yeah, and then but with his feet, and then you just don't get there, and then it just horribly rolls through. So I wouldn't really put a blame on either of them. I think it's just
I
one
saw
of
Van
those
Dijk
things.
got a lot more of the blame for the fact that there was apparently a moment beforehand where he could have maybe tried to have got rid.
Van Dijk, in that moment, has attempted to shield the ball. He's stepped away from it, and he failed in that one job because Martinelli was able to dislodge him. So ultimately, the blame lies with him, that Martinelli was able to impact him as the defender, which obviously, I mean, Alisson should be getting some of the ball, but did enough, obviously, to put off Alisson and create the goal and score for Martinelli. But yeah, in my opinion, it is definitely Van Dijk's fault because the one thing he tried to do, he failed.
I do wonder sometimes as well, if it wasn't I can't remember off the top of my head how tall Martinelli is, but say a 5'9" winger.
Yeah, that is
and rather that it was a 6'3"
physical
striker. My point being, if it was a 6'3" striker that's pushing Van Dijk, does the referee maybe think it's a foul?
Van Dijk didn't even appeal for a foul.
No, he didn't.
There was no hint. I think he knew exactly what was going on. It was he lost essentially what was a 50-50, and it wasn't really a 50-50 because he was in possession of the ball and he was dictating his body shape. So yeah, that's why I don't think you saw a single complaint from him or Alisson. I think they just accepted that it was just a really bad blunder.
Yeah, sometimes you make your own luck, I think, in football, and Martinelli did very well in that. I thought actually every Arsenal player was really, really good, from Raya, who started attacks fantastically well. Gabriel, apart from the kind of one moment, was also really, really good. Jorginho and Rice in midfield, fantastic. You mentioned Havertz. I thought, apart from probably two shots he should do better with, one of them leading to Saka's first goal, he was brilliant up top. I thought he managed to kind of like command the space and area really, really well and gave the Liverpool defence a really tough time. Some of the issues, more so for Liverpool, Gravenberch doesn't look very good, does he, at the moment? It's not quite going well for him. And it's weird considering at Ajax he was the next guy, really.
I've said this on this channel a few times. The success rate of players leaving Ajax is not great. There's Frankie de Jong, who has done very well. He's done very well, but he's still much maligned at Barcelona. Matthias de Ligt is losing his star power, transfer after transfer. Yeah. Now got Eric Dyer for company at Bayern Munich.
They're loving Eric Dyer.
Well, so they should.
Yeah, I saw a little Bayern Munich comp, just being like, oh, how have we accidentally signed like Beckenbauer?
Unbelievable. Well, there we go. I mean, look, I really like Eric Dyer, so good for him. But yeah, my point remains from there. Like
Anthony gone wrong.
Ziyech
went
couldn't
wrong.
make it work. Like there's not a massive. Even Bergwijn, he's had to go back to Ajax now. My point is, not every transfer out of the Eredivisie. And I think it's difficult when you're in the team that like dominated that division for so long. Like you have to remember that the bottom half of the Eredivisie is bad. Is really bad. Like these teams,
I watched it.
It's VVV Venlo or like Go Ahead Eagles. I think they're having a good season. These players are expected to do better. And I'm not saying they're not incredibly well coached. They deserve an element of value, but I think going to the Premier League sometimes is almost too great of a leap for some of these players. It's just a completely different game.
I guess with that Ajax side as well, though, because they did so well in the Champions League, is maybe why people believe why didn't it quite work out as well? Like they beat Real Madrid, they made it to the semi-final, they then got knocked out to Spurs. But still, it was a ridiculous game when they went originally 3-0 up, I think, in the first leg.
Again, why are we expecting a player that was not even ever really picked for Bayern Munich to be great at Liverpool?
True.
Liverpool's standards at this point in the transfer market are the same as Bayern Munich's. And if they're not, so just to like pick off sort of an off count of that side who's not able to make an impact in that Bayern Munich squad and expect him to be brilliant in the Premier League, I think it's tricky. I think it's also tricky. He's got a lot of good midfielders around him that he's competing with, and that doesn't help. Yeah,
he's got to reach a certain level to be impressive. One thing that was kind of mentioned afterwards, it'll be interesting your take on this as well, Keir. Odegaard was taking photos of the Arsenal cameraman after their win. Arteta's celebration, I think, on the third goal or the second goal, one or the other, where he goes running down the touchline, kind of obviously knowing it's gone so well for Arsenal. We saw Jamie Carragher come out afterwards kind of saying that they over-celebrated. What's your opinion on this? Because, one, it just gets... football and celebrations are always spoken about all the time and just go over the top.
I want it to be endlessly over the top because like the purpose is to win a football match and celebrate it. And also I feel like football's becoming almost very anti-football I find it baffling that no one's seriously put forward some sort of protest about taking your shirt off and getting a yellow card. That drives me insane.
Yes,
How have we
silly.
all just accepted that or over celebrating and jumping in the crowd? Just unless you're inciting violence, like we should do all of that. Unless the violence is on the pitch between two players, then that's fun.
These are athletic bodies. Let them breathe.
But yeah. I think the photo of the photographer, I'm like, I'm going to say that's cringe. And I don't know what it is about it because I know I'm wrong because I like City's
when Jack
Kitman.
Grealish got it or something. Yeah,
When the Kitman
yeah,
found
I do
out,
know
but
you
everyone
about
else hates it. Like, oh, who's
Ginger
this guy?
guy,
I
isn't
think
he?
that's just a thing football fans do with other clubs. But Arteta running down the touchline was absolutely fantastic. Like you have to like I don't like when it happens, but Pep Guardiola endlessly drinking his water or going to his knees is funny.
Yeah.
You want that. So I want I feel like we're just trying to like remove emotion, isn't it?
Well, I saw them Arsenal fans and other fans replying, sending videos of when. Do you remember when Liverpool played Everton? And Pickford does that thing where it jumps, hits the crossbar, and Origi puts it in, I think.
Yeah.
And in celebration, Jurgen Klopp runs down the sideline onto the pitch and celebrates with Alisson, which does feel like the next evolution of what Arteta will do, to be fair. But
I think they both should be able to do that.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
It's fine. Like, even the thing with taking the picture of the cameraman, if the cameras don't capture that, no one is speaking about it. Not a single person in the stands is speaking about Odegaard taking a picture of the Arsenal cameraman, who is an Arsenal lifelong fan, in front of the Arsenal fans. I mean, they kind of go on to speak about him, Henry Moore. It's like a mentality thing, as like they haven't won anything yet. They're still not even top of the league, Arsenal. Why are they kind of over celebrating like this? But like, surely it's okay.
It's an evening game. The atmosphere was wicked, and they beat top of the league. They're fully. I mean, we get annoyed at these footballers when they're not showing these personal sides, when they're not like interacting with the fans, and then you're suddenly like, oh, they're just mercenaries, just here, just to
Take our money.
take our money. So good on them for getting involved, and I think we have to factor in. You know, if I bet Carragher doesn't mind Klopp doing his little like every time they beat like Luton at home kind of thing. Arteta's a weird guy. He's got the way he does things the way he wants to do them. Even like his comments before the games, joking that Zinchenko and Ben White like have been sharing a wife kind of thing. You know,
he's like a Facebook dad. It's really weird.
He's just a seriously odd dude, and this is the way that he expresses himself. So he's from the Pep Guardiola school of just big, slightly strange.
Yeah,
and it's not really a conversation. I don't know why people are just jealous. In all honesty, like let Arsenal celebrate, and if they don't win, then you can mock win even more. So I don't know why people are getting upset about it. It's just ammo for if Arsenal don't do as well as they're supposed to do.
Yeah, very true. That's one way to look at it for sure. I'm trying to think who it was. If it was Carragher on the Sickly Football podcast or someone else related to Everton, and he said that when Arteta was playing for Everton, like. He was never like this. Like he wasn't like he wasn't over the top. He wasn't like celebrating all this to this way and stuff like this. And that it's interesting to see people like change when they're a manager. But also remember like people saying that Gary Neville, when he was a footballer, was never like how he is now. And obviously people change when they aren't professional footballers anymore. So it's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, I guess.
Just quickly, I will say like Klopp resigning because he's basically stressed. Because it's so exhausting.
He keeps coming second.
Yeah. Arteta's come into a management role where it's a really hard job to be a manager of a Premier League side, and I think you should be allowed to celebrate in those moments because it is a release. Because he could lose two, as they were saying, if he'd lost this game, people have been saying he wasn't good enough to do his job, and yet he's won it. So like you've got to give these guys the ability to enjoy their successes because it can change so quickly that he might be in sort of anxiety, panic-ridden hole in a few weeks if they start losing again. So yeah, I mean. It's a pretty grim job sometimes being a football manager, and I think they should be allowed to
enjoy it.
Enjoy it.
Yeah, when it goes well. I think that's a very, very nice way to put it. Yes, very good from Arsenal. Not so good from Liverpool, but also had a lot of injuries at times. And so they did the best they could. But yes, let's move on to the other talking point. Chelsea. Chelsea lost 4-1 at home at Stamford Bridge to Wolves. Matheus Cunha scoring 4-2.
Wasn't that bad?
Mate, I actually switched. I think I switched it off.
Did you follow
at
any of the
4-1.
results this week?
Yeah.
No, I'd switched off at 4-1. Apologies. Matheus Cunha got a hat trick, an own goal from Disasi, a goal from Cole Palmer to put Chelsea 1-0 up originally, and then also a goal from, why am I forgetting? Thiago Silva from a corner. That is correct. With a Mudryk assist, which helped me out for draft because I'm playing you this weekend at the moment.
No, I got Joe.
I swear I've got you.
No, I got Joe.
No, I've got Sean.
I'm getting destroyed by Joe.
I've got someone else. I've got Sean. Anyway, Chelsea, lads, before I give my input, how do you guys feel about the situation? Because I actually thought, Kieran, on the group chat, you were a little bit more understanding than what I think other people have been.
Yeah, well, it's funny. It's really funny. And I thought when he went 1-0 up and it wasn't a penalty from Cole Palmer, I was like, oh, this will be one of the games they win, like against Burnley. Just like, I reckon they'll just
gets the job done.
They not live to their potential, but sort of you're like, this is sort of how they should be at least. But it's a weird game where two of them are deflections.
Big deflections.
Despite coming from like a Casido mistake. Oh, he made one just before as well, he got away with. But then also set up the first one. But two deflections. And then a pen which Gusto does get a toe on the ball. I'm not saying it's not a pen. I haven't seen another angle where if he takes out the player first to get to the ball, but he does touch the ball. So I'm like, well, if it was a game between 5 and 12 games into the season, 5 and 15, then I reckon you can get away, and you didn't have sort of the rest around it. You can get away with it just being like, it's just one of those games. It's football. There's a large element of luck, or if a ball falls somewhere, but it's not, and it now feels sort of symptomatic of just the rest of the year.
I think that's a good way to put it. I think, look, it's tough. Wolves were good. I also want to give credit to Wolves.
Wolves are
because
good.
Gary
They are
O'Neill
good.
has done an incredible job with Wolves. Pedro Neto was causing so many issues down Chelsea's left side, and because Sterling wasn't so keen to drop back and defend, it just meant Chilwell was getting overrun consistently. Cunha's movement was amazing. The way they pressed Caicedo was really, really impressive. Enzo's still yet to fully drop back next to him, which again causes some issues. I think you're right. Sometimes the deflections happen, but also Wolves did very well to get themselves into those positions.
Yeah.
And so
they sort of made that
exactly
happen.
A lot of credit has to go to Wolves for that.
Wolves don't seem to produce a bad performance. They get beat, but that's just more of that the caliber of the players that they're supposed to. Like every game, you're going to have a tough. Like I'd put odds on Wolves winning this game beforehand because like Chelsea are just not turning up week in week out. Whereas that Wolves are going to be there. So the second that Wolves got a sniff that Chelsea are having an off day, then they're able to turn the screw. Yes, utilize those lucky deflections and press on. So this was almost a really on paper you think Wolves at home, okay, bit of respite, but actually I thought this was a lot more of a banana skin for Chelsea than it originally appeared, just because Wolves are so consistent. They're never. I can't think how many times they've even been blown away this season, if that makes sense.
Not many, not many. And if they have, the next game, Gary O'Neill has made sure they've corrected it.
They're well coached.
He came out after the Chelsea game, was like, look, after the United match, I made sure he got into the training ground and fixed what was going wrong, and it definitely looked like it. Look, I think Chelsea are in a really interesting situation at the moment because obviously a lot of talk at the moment is about what happens now with Pochettino. Do Chelsea go out and sack him and go and get in another manager? There's also talks that Chelsea can't really afford to sack him given the situation they're in, having spent so much money on players and obviously spent a lot of money to bring him in, spent a lot of money to sack Potter back last season. They would have also spent a lot of money to sack Tuchel as well in that same season at the beginning of the year. And then since then, spent a load of more money in the summer to bring in a bunch of players to refresh the squad. I think they're right now is the fan to start. You can almost see them starting to turn. I don't think they're going to sack Poch yet. I don't think that's going to happen. Mainly partially due to that fact that they financially might not be able to. But basically, what happens next? They can't bring Frank Lampard in again because it's just accept. Well, one accepts that at the end of this season. Sorry, it accepts that. Well, that's the season done.
We did that last year.
Yeah, we did that last
He
year.
did so badly last year. You can't. I mean, not even his fault. You can't bring it back.
No, yeah, for sure. But then people are saying, well, what about then what other managers are out there who can come in full term possibly? I saw someone said Jose could do an interim for the rest of the season. That's not going to happen. When has Jose ever done an interim? When has he ever wanted to do an interim? That's not going to happen. So bringing in the idea of bringing in Jose, I just don't. I just doesn't sit well in my head.
It's like inviting a bloke to walk in and set fire to your house and walk back out again.
I mean, it's already on fire, to be honest, Kieran. So
but there can always be more fire.
True. And so other managers you look at and you think, okay, what about like managers like people talk about Amorim at Sporting, who obviously done a very good job. He cost a lot of money. I think 20 million he's got a buyout to get him. And also, God, right now, if you go to any other manager and go, hey, do you want to come into Chelsea where none of the players are playing really well at the moment? They're all really young, so you've got to develop them and teach them kind of how you want to play football and how they should be developed. The bridge as well and the fans are really not in a good mood at the moment. And also you can't buy any players at the moment unless we sell a bunch. And the last 2 years have been really poor, so you've got to kind of change that. What manager looks at that and goes, yeah, you know what, lads, like, this is a really good idea?
What manager managers just want to win football games. It's so easy to get sacked after you lose a couple. What manager wants to essentially manage a product? No one wants to just have a bunch of youth players. They want like a 40 million bloke who can play football. They're not there to, most managers aren't there to be like, I'm going to be here for 5 years, 10 years, like, they're just not like, unless you got like,
they're realistic.
Unless you got Guardiola,
yeah.
we're like, we will give you absolutely everything, and then a couple of youth players trickle through, and then they turn out they're absolutely world class. But so I don't know what you would possibly do. You just gotta wait. Like, I don't know what you could do apart from just wait.
Like if Poch gets fired now, think about where his career goes. He probably goes back to a slightly lower Spanish side, in all honesty. And I think a lot of managers will be looking at this going, do I really want to put a big dent in my reputation by taking on a Chelsea project in the most competitive league in the world where they're like failing? Is it worth tarnishing my own reputation for Chelsea?
It's such a big job.
And I think at this point, Chelsea are going to have to be, if they sack Pochettino, and I don't think they necessarily should. I think literally your forward line is just not good enough. Like Mudryk, Sterling has been quite poor.
But the issue, right, is that last year we were at least decent defensively. We're not even that anymore. Like we've conceded more goals than we've scored this season. Naturally, goal scoring wise, we've been a little bit better than we have been last season. And it's not like we've gone from good defensively to good attacking wise. We've gone from good defensively to now bad defensively, and gone from bad attacking wise to okay.
I've seen a lot of complaints about, are you paying people in the wrong positions or perceived wrong positions?
So the issue yesterday was like, so a lot of people have been like, okay, well, Poch hasn't played a natural fullback at fullback. For instance, when he played Cole at left back, and partly that was due to injuries or whatever. Yesterday against Wolves, Chelsea probably played what was their strongest squad. They didn't start Jackson, who came on and people said was awful as well. But they played Cole Palmer in a false nine, who I don't think is probably his best position. I think he's a little bit better off the right or behind the striker. They had both natural fullbacks playing in Chilwell and Gusto. They had Thiago Silva and Disasi at the back. A lot of people were complaining about Thiago Silva after the game, but actually this seems like it's kind of done now, or not done. Like the guy's an incredible player, but it's coming towards probably the end of his tenure at Chelsea, and maybe we've got to think about what is the next step. Basically, age is starting to catch up with him, and that's no surprise. He's like 38, 39 years old now. And the other big talking point is Enzo, and like whenever we've seen Enzo play really well, it's normally been when he's been a little bit deeper, play kind of next to like a Caicedo, get the ball, pass it about. Like he basically starts off all the attacks. And at the moment, the way he's playing is further forwards, and kind of being a guy that's in that final third area to either have the shot or try and create the last pass for the goal. And that's not to say he can't do it, but it's not working at the moment. I think
Is that what he does for Argentina? Why did he play for Argentina?
I mean, he did a bit of both. Like, you think back to that World Cup, his goal actually that kind of put him on the map. He was on the edge of the box, puts it top right-hand corner. But yeah, I think right now he won't get sacked. Chelsea play Aston Villa away in the FA Cup for the second leg, or not the second leg, but the replay leg after a 0-0 performance. We interested to see how that goes. And then we play Crystal Palace on the weekend coming. And obviously they've got a lot of pressure on them at the moment. If that goes tits up, that could be interesting.
I think they'll keep him in for the League Cup final. I think
like at end of the month.
Having seen Spurs infamously sacking Mourinho on the eve of that final, I think really, I said this last time, I feel like Chelsea's season rests on that competition, because if they win that,
they're in Europe.
Then they're in Europe next season, and by default, they've kind of finished in the top 8, haven't they? And I mean, it's still Europa League, which is probably as good as you can hope for.
I saw a Chelsea fan say, if they can finish in Europe, if they can be in Europe next year, and that is by winning the Carabao Cup, they would be okay with finishing 12th.
Yeah. It doesn't really matter, does it?
But also, what? Like, when has Chelsea ever been accepting of finishing in the bottom half in the last 20 years? Like,
I agree with you.
That's crazy.
But that is your reality. Like, that is currently what's happening. And if you win the Carabao Cup, you've basically finished 8th, and you can I guess you can then just try and muster up an identity. Yeah. Just not get relegated.
Like Wigan, when Wigan.
They beat us FA Cup final, then got relegated.
Yeah. Interesting. Wasn't it?
I don't think their Europa League journey lasted very long.
But yeah, that is kind of, I think, where we are with Chelsea. I think there are other issues as well. Like I think we've put this is what, the fourth manager, I guess, within 2 years now as well. You've brought in so many players. Like, something's got to give here. Like, there has to be also, I think, a bit of partially blame elsewhere as well than just on the pitch and just on the manager. But look, we'll see how Chelsea get on against Aston Villa. The way football's a fickle sport. If Chelsea beat Villa, go through to the next round, manage to beat Crystal Palace, they then face City, Spurs, Newcastle and Brentford. So we'll see what happens by that point, and Liverpool in that final.
Did you see Villa's finishing this weekend? They just humped Sheffield United. Was it 5-0 or 5-1?
5-0.
And scored some of the best goals like in one game that I've seen in a while. They were all top quarter. They are going to... Well, I'm not going to tempt fate, but I would be concerned about facing Villa.
Look, I think this is what's interesting as well. The impact on the players now. Like, surely part of you wants to... there's a part of you want to have respect for yourself, man. You want to play for yourself.
I love that.
Right?
It's weird. Football's so funny. The optimism where you're like, we're bad. Oh, we're really bad. But we're so bad. But you know what? We're so bad that next game we're going to be so good because we know it's so bad. We can't have it that bad again. But it can always get worse.
But even like Chilwell, I saw Chilwell. There's a drill outside, but I saw Chilwell saying in the post match, like, God, it is like, that was really bad on us. Like, that isn't just from a poor performance, that is on us as players, and we know that. But it's like, okay, then, well, show that in the next game then.
Do something, my brother.
Yeah, but it must, I do also understand that it must be tough as a player to be like, like, for instance, when they go 2-1 down, as a player, you just must think,
here we go again.
Here we go again.
Yeah.
I think that actually is a big issue for Chelsea for the last few years. When something doesn't go Chelsea's way, like an own goal, like a red card, or like a deflected goal, whatever it might be, heads drop so quickly.
Well, so much of football's mental, isn't it?
Yeah, no, exactly. You're very right. You're very, very right. But like, you just see it with Chelsea so much more often than other teams, I feel like, where they just go, well, not going our way today, is it? Because of that, and it kind of goes tits up.
Still, like, a lot of your squad is not used to being in this scenario.
No, they're not. You're not.
Sterling
you're right.
was a winner. Even like Mudryk at Shakhtar would have been winning week in, week out. Like, a lot of these players that you've brought in, a lot of the players that you've inherited, been in the squad for a long time, are not used to losing all the time, and that must be this must be really like.
But it's 50-50. Some of them aren't used to losing all the time. And also some of them aren't used to playing for a club where the expectation is bigger than what they were previously at. For instance, some of these guys are so young. Enzo Fernandez, don't get me wrong, played for Benfica, a club where he is expected to be winning a lot. And River Plate, some big, like they are big clubs in their nations, of course, I agree. But they have now come to a Premier League side where they are on plus hundreds of thousands of pounds a week. Like you are now got to be showing why you are, or like, again, Caicedo, £115 million transfer, British transfer record. Like it's a different pressure. I always said it, I remember saying it originally. Caicedo was £5 million at Brighton. Of course, he's an unbelievable, like he's incredible. Now he's the most expensive player in the league.
You got to be there.
Same thing when Grealish was at City.
With those amounts of money, you can't, I think, unless you're a goal scorer, you can't or it's incredibly difficult to be like, oh yeah, he was worth that amount. Grealish makes our team better, and there's some games where I'd much rather him than Doku. It depends on what I feel like the other team are going to do. But I'm like, yeah, he improved the team and it just helps absolutely everything when he's on. But he's not scoring 20 goals, so it's hard to be like, well, he's not technically worth 100 million. But he has improved. It doesn't mean he can't improve the team.
It's going to be so interesting. Like, I'm so interested to be like, in see where in, say, 4 years' time, where this squad and Chelsea and also these players are, because it's going to, like, these guys are only like 21, 22. So they'll only be 26, 27 maybe by that stage. And one, are they still at Chelsea? Two, if not, have they gone on to a better club, a worse club? Are they now playing incredibly better? Are they playing incredibly worse? Whatever it is. But yeah, only time will tell. Let's move on to a club then that Henry mentioned just then. Aston Villa beating Sheffield United 5-0. We're going to touch on a few other games as well. Unai Emery.
I think he would be the perfect coach for Chelsea in many ways. He's pragmatic. He's got his own. Poch's style is hard to see at the moment. Like you know what you're going to get from Villa week in, week out. He's creative, tactically, and I think almost at this point, given the level that you've fallen to as a side, Unai Emery is like the perfect kind of coach for you. But let's not worry about that. Like Villa have bounced, considering they lost to Newcastle United. I think that it's bounced back with such a commanding victory. I'm pretty sure it was at Sheffield United as well, who have shown signs of looking better under Chris Wilder and Ben Brereton Diaz. He's been a solid addition up front. But yeah, I mean, this is a tricky one for Sheffield United because they're just watching. You're hoping sometimes that your goalie can make a save, that will hit the post, whatever. Like every one of these goals was just perfect. Do you know what I mean? And it's kind of like, well, what can you do in that situation? Like if they're just curling it top corner, if Ollie Watkins is just banging it right into the bottom corner.
When Douglas Luiz putting this inch perfect outside the foot pass in front of you, it's outrageous.
You're playing odds and chances sometimes, and in this situation, Villa were just way too clinical. And some weeks they don't score these goals, and United can hold on for a bit longer. But yeah, they're looking really good. Again, still in the hunt for that fourth spot of the Champions League. That's going to be fascinating, I think, at the back end of this campaign. Was it Spurs, them? Who knows if United keep picking up their results, as it were. So Villa, I don't think there's loads to say on it, really. Just they've got a great core of players who are capable of doing brilliant things, and we saw that in this game against a team. Fair enough, they should be beating.
You can see them really enjoying their football as well. Like Ollie Watkins is loving it at the moment. Every game he goes into feels like he knows he's going to score, or like he's going to have some really good chance. Like they are playing such great football. I think the fans as well, man. Like you look at Aston Villa fans online and stuff, and I know a couple as well. They, considering what they've had over the last few years, they are going through like heaven at the moment. It's been amazing for them, and they're just support around the whole club and around the whole group is really impressive to see. I mean, did you obviously moving on from kind of Villa to Sheffield United? Did you see Chris Wilder's comments on the weekend?
The sandwich thing? Baffling.
Surely that shows
Can
you
a man not eat?
Surely that shows you that he is stressed and like it is not going well there.
Him being like,
I mean, it's so basically they're in their office having a sandwich.
The Premier League referees
He's burst in and gone, oh, you're eating a sandwich, are you? Disgrace.
The assistant as well. But I'm not the main. Talk to the main guy. I'm eating.
Yeah.
We should run for 90 minutes. Like, let him go.
I like that he's like to a Premier League manager. I'm all right, mate. You are just a bloke.
You got the job on a technicality from a legend.
You're here for a bit.
Yeah.
That's all.
He shouldn't be that stressed. He's got a Premier League job again. He's fine. I mean,
Yeah, with really no pressure to stay up.
Yeah. But I just think it's not looking so good for Sheffield United at the moment. Defensively, poor. Attacking wise, poor. Like as you said, I think Diaz has been very good since he's joined.
He'd almost scored in every game since he joined.
But that's it so far. So look, it'll be interesting to see how those two get on. Another game we need to touch upon as well is Newcastle United for Luton Town 4. I love Luton Town at the moment. I love Rod Edwards, just like a lot of women do as well at the moment. He is.
I want to see him go carnival. I want to see how that goes down.
That would be interesting. They went 2-1 down originally, brought it back to go 4-2 up, and then in the end conceded some late chances to Newcastle go 4-4. Henry, how do you feel like they look at that game? Because considering they were in a winning position at 4-2 up and had scored some really good goals as well.
Yeah.
To then go draw. Do they look at that, especially at the beginning? I always wonder if managers at the beginning of the season mark down games and go, okay, well, that's a winnable one, or the beginning of the month and go, that's a winnable one, that's a one that will be a bit tough, let's try and get a draw or whatever. But then when the game goes on, surely Rob Edwards would have been actually a little bit disappointed to have drawn.
This would be a great learning experience for that Luton squad, because you're right. At the start of the season, if you'd said, that game, if they get a point, that's brilliant. But the reality was they were in a position. They're in a position to walk away with 3 points. And considering how tight it is in the relegation zone, considering there's less and less games, there's a certain total they're going to be aiming for. Like Rob Edwards will go, guys, we got in that position, but we now need to have the mentality to hold on to a lead. It doesn't matter who we're playing against, because I think we've seen a few times this season where they've given up leads late on, where teams have managed to sort of prize them open at the very end. And to give up a sort of 2-goal lead against Newcastle is a tricky one. But still, they are a team building momentum at the moment. What happened to Tom Lockyer is really, really tragic. But sometimes something like that can galvanise the squad. We saw that with Denmark at the Euros. I'm not saying this is what the right thing to do, but Luton have a lot to play for. They're a pretty honest squad. There's a lot of misfits that have, like Barkley we were talking about. I saw a BBC article suggesting that he could be an England midfielder. I don't think that's going to happen whatsoever, but he's got something to prove. I think a lot of that squad has something to prove. They were so written off at the start of the campaign, but they've got good players and they know the football they want to play. Great manager as well. So I'm quietly confident, given the sort of the weight of expectation that's going to be on Nottingham, it's going to be on Everton, given potential points deductions, whatever. I think Luton genuinely could stay up, and I think they'd be good value for it if they did. I think a lot of people are really enjoying Luton Town's football. They're not like a gimmick anymore.
Well, I think Luton Town in particular were a team where they have gradually managed, I think, to convince a lot of, say, other Premier League fans, as out of the 3 that came up, they want them to possibly stay promoted, just because it was all against them going up. Like the ground that is so different to every other Premier League ground. The finances they had, I remember then they were sorting out deals for Tahith Chong and really playing on small margins compared to other Premier League sides. I think they are kind of like a side that people look at and think, I want them to do well. Let us know what you guys think of Luton Town in the comments below. Kieran, from a Newcastle point of view, did very well to bring this back. Actually, managing to put a little bit of a run since they lost to you guys. Beat Fulham in the FA Cup. Beat Aston Villa last weekend, or midweek, sorry. And then obviously came back against Luton to draw 4-4. Harvey Barnes getting the leveller as well. He's back from injury. A lot of players, well, not a lot of players, but players are now starting to return from injury. Do you think Newcastle may be able to bring it back? I think they're sitting in 9th at the moment. They play Forest, Bournemouth, then Arsenal in their next 3 games before the end of the month. They also play Blackburn in the FA Cup as well. Two at least winnable fixtures, and they made the Arsenal game last time very, very interesting.
Yeah, I can imagine them sort of getting back into their sort of 4th place form sort of thing. But I feel like 4-4 at home. So I've seen a lot of criticism of Dan Burn. There's been a lot of Dan Burn. And I think they want Livramento.
Well, he's refusing to play. He's not refusing to play. I don't know. He's not playing Livramento instead for Dan Burn, who I assume maybe it's more of like a physicality height thing. But
He just keeps
Dan Burn is getting ripped apart down that left flank at the moment.
I don't know. There's something that just feels a bit middling about them at the moment, and I don't know. Isaac and Wilson.
Wilson, yeah. I mean, Wilson he was rumoured to be leaving in January, wasn't he?
Yeah. There was Atletico wanted him.
Ended up staying. They've also, as I said, Almiron's still there. Harvey Barnes now back. It's helpful, but it might be a little too late.
Yeah, I'm not. I feel like they'll just. No, I think they'll get better. I think he must eventually stop playing Dan Burn, pretty much, and then all of a sudden you maybe don't concede one or two of those goals, and one or two of the goals being let in, and then you start to string some wins together. I think they'll beat Forest and who they got? Bournemouth. They're at home to Bournemouth, aren't they?
Yeah.
Even though Bournemouth are very good, I think they'll sort of. I feel like they can only middle for so long. And I feel like now, I really like Harvey Barnes. So I feel like with him back, I feel like they might be able to actually not blow teams away, but instead of teetering on the edge of throwing a game away or losing it, they can just
Comfortably.
get a few more where they get a couple at the end.
What Newcastle's tricky period this season has almost caused them to have an identity crisis. Probably a bit earlier on than they're expecting who are we? We're now talking about Almiron being sold and players like Dan Burn, they're suddenly going, he is upgradable. And I don't think it's fair to say Livramento deserves to start over Dan Burn. I don't think Livramento's done enough to justify being that much better than him in terms of the starting 11. But Dan Burn, let's remember, was like a £13 million signing from Brighton, where I'm pretty sure they bid for other players and not been able to get deals done over the line. He has achieved way more than anyone ever expected Dan Burn to achieve in a Newcastle shirt after like a really wild career of Wigan, Fulham, non-league. So I think a bit of perspective is necessary sometimes with these players. But yeah, Newcastle, I think we're seeing it with Eddie Howe in the press. If they want to be in this title fight week in, week out, then there is an element of they need to just slowly upgrade the squad. And sadly, I think someone like Dan Burn will be a victim of that, as we're seeing with Almiron. Even them saying like Joel Linton's maybe played his like final game. I thought people loved him. I thought he was the big saviour. But I mean,
that's the thing. When things start changing or like not going as well, that's always the first thing. Is who's upgradable? Well, this player that we bought from this, who's 33, and maybe not as athletic as other players, or as good on the ball as other players, or as quality as other players, can be upgradable, especially when they obviously have the money that they do. But that is a question for the summer. Let's move on to another draw. Tottenham Hotspur 1-0 up to the Spurs, then 1-1, 2-1 Spurs, and then 2-2 in the dying embers of the game. Spursy, some would say. Look, I'm not going to try and take the piss out of Spurs, but it was very. Like, I actually think Everton deserve a bit of credit here. Like Sean Dyche has made them play some really tough football to play against, and Spurs just couldn't quite handle it. Especially that it seems like they figured out in a corner. Put a man on Vicario, put a little bit of pressure on him, and he can't handle it. He can't handle it at all. And you know what I'm really happy at, Kieran? They didn't give it as a foul.
Yeah, I mean, if they wanted to do that early with Alisson against us, that would have been very nice. No, it's I'm glad, like, we've got Sonny Snelling and Mr. Jack Keener on our chat, Spurs fans, being like, why are they suddenly enforcing that rule now? Can you complain about, like, I say enforcing rule, but allowing a bit of on the keeper now? I don't feel like you can complain about it. But it's like complaining about a goalkeeper blowing up a penalty when he comes off his line. It's like, well, they used to do it. I'm like, yeah, but they just sort of didn't enforce the rule. It's I'm happy it's like that because I would like more goals. Because it's like, how much protection should a keeper have? Like, realistically, you can use your arms. That's like
a big advantage.
Yeah, it turns out other players can't use their arms.
Yeah.
So, you could push them as well and try and jump. Or just get like another player to help you out.
Yeah, they should. That was a big one.
The problem with the keepers is there's been too many instances where they've just gone like, oh.
They'll go for it because they know they'll get it.
And then they just get the free kick and I was like,
To be fair, Vicario wasn't going down. Like it should be said, he just really struggled to like deal with a man on him, and like because he'd like kind of flap at it, and they've gone at the back
Well,
post,
it's also
head it across.
It is actually hard to like take the piss, but it's actually hard to if you jump in there with your arms up to catch the ball
and have someone.
You're expecting the ball to like whatever. All you need is a little nudge, and then you just don't get it.
Yeah,
you've hit the nail on the head. It's a tactic which Everton deployed, and Spurs weren't quick enough to react to it. At the end of the day, they should have had a centre back basically defending Vicario, creating space for him, but they didn't do that because it was too late before they realised really what was going on. So it's on the Spurs defence to figure that out. It's not like a fault within the rules. What's happening?
Yeah, no, exactly. And it kind of felt like I thought Richarlison actually had a good game. It was interesting. He kind of scored, didn't celebrate as well. Talking about celebrations earlier, but I think Spurs had It's so interesting because Spurs had such a good, solid, I thought, hour. And the last third of the game was where things kind of changed, and it felt very much like put it this way, going to Goodison Park, not easy, especially with kind of how the fans are, and just they've done such a good job at really building this kind of atmosphere, this tough atmosphere to play against. But it did feel like the Everton goal was going to come, and it definitely felt in some sort of set piece. For sure. Obviously, it comes off, I think, not Vicario, Romero heading it, doesn't it, in the end?
Yeah.
And obviously the Branthwaite finds himself at the back post to manage to put it in. Does a really good job. I mean, he's a centre back that looks very, very good. Will be interesting to see if Everton can keep their hands on him, which I think if they stay up is a really good thing for him to stay there for at least another year. Because I thought Real Madrid are looking at him.
Real Madrid.
Yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, point being, really good from Everton. I thought Spurs fans shouldn't maybe be too disheartened overall. Getting a draw at Goodison Park with the way Everton are at the moment is not a bad result. I think maybe when you go 2-1 up to then obviously draw in the last minutes, obviously everyone is going to be devastated. Another game, Manchester United 3, West Ham 0. Man U are just somehow... they've been able to do it all season, but they are just getting results. They really are, and they are. I don't think. Maybe it's slightly different against West Ham. They were better against West Ham, but for instance, against Wolves, they made a lot of chances but conceded a lot of goals. But the games before that, I felt like they were poor but managed to get results. It's now changed to where they are becoming a good side and still winning games as well. And look, if you're a manager like Eric Ten Hag at the club like Manchester United, the pressure that was on him, he's managed to survive now, and I think he's managed to really gain back a lot of respect and trust. And also, the big one, Højlund's now scoring, Henry.
Yeah, I watched this with a United fan, and he is really, really excited. Because really, I still think this squad's 2 cycles away from being a title-challenging squad. But you're right, Højlund's coming through. Even Garnacho's looking pretty exciting. They're beginning to show a bit more of a identity and unity as a squad. And you're right, fair play to Ten Hag. They've stuck with him. He's stuck with them. I think you've had to be realistic about what the situation United have been in. There are some bad eggs still in that dressing room, clearly. And I think they're slowly getting to a point now with the new management, with the new sort of team that's come in, so Jim Ratcliffe and his people. I think the future is genuinely bright. It's just about keeping players out the headlines, keeping the narrative just about the football. Because that's the problem with United is when something blows up, it's so much bigger because it's United, and it can, I think, be overwhelming for the manager Ten Hag having to answer these questions all the time. If they can just keep the narrative about them playing good football, then they can go under the radar and produce nice results like this 3-0, where we're talking about it quite late on in the programme. So this is a really big positive for them. And I mean, West Ham didn't really create a whole lot against them, in all honesty. But to go and beat West Ham 3-0 is still pretty impressive.
Only issue, I guess, Martinez didn't look good. Possible AC, we don't know for a fact, but possible ACL, MCL, and he only just recently came back from a long-term injury, so that doesn't look so good on that side of things. But otherwise, I think a lot of fans at United will be very, very happy. One final one we'll touch upon here, and then the M25 derby. Brighton versus Crystal Palace.
It should be the Bird derby. because one's an eagle and one's a seagull.
I agree with you.
And they should fight the two birds before the game or at halftime, whichever you'd rather. It was
4-1 to Brighton, by the way, if you didn't see. Elise,
it's
9
just
minutes, I
sad.
think he played.
Yeah, he came on at half
injured.
time. Well, it's like I thought the fans would have wanted him on because they're like, well, he's on the bench. He must be fit. Get him on.
But they
But
were
then-
already losing quite dramatically.
But it's like, it's just a throw of the dice. You're getting battered. You're like, oh my God, okay. We're missing two of our best players if we're ever going to win a bloody game, let alone play well. The physio said he can play 45 minutes. Put him on. Plays 9. Has to take him off.
he
Yeah,
kind
but
of,
You
whoever,
have to take him off.
yeah, whoever cleared him, like he can play a little bit.
wouldn't
like,
be feeling good, would
yeah.
it?
Yeah,
But it's like because he basically they have Crystal Palace have a counter attack from a corner that Brighton had, and he goes running after the ball, and you just see him kind of his hamstring go, and he just starts to come off, which is weird because obviously we were talking about Elise last week, and I was mentioning like, oh, obviously what a player he is, but another injury's picked up now. Like that is a cause for concern for any club looking to try and get him maybe in the summer. But yeah, hopefully not a bad one. Maybe he managed to walk off. Maybe it's one of those ones where he kind of felt it didn't want to make it worse.
almost like I shouldn't. Yeah,
exactly. Kind of thing. I mean, I'm not necessarily an injury expert, that's for sure.
I feel like he would have looked more upset if it was really.
Yeah, because he didn't
almost like tears. Sort of
he
thing.
didn't look too bad, but we'll see again. And the one that will come out over time.
No Eze, no Elise, no Gehi.
Yeah.
Their main January business was signing a teenager midfield from Blackburn Rovers who could be amazing. I don't know. It's really looking... Every team is now looking at Palace as a game they can win. I just think without the creativity from those two guys up front, without the unity of Anderson and Gehi at the back, like the drop-off from their good players to the rest of their squad is huge.
Do you think they'll sack him? Roy Hodgson.
Yeah, if it comes to it, absolutely. They've sacked him before.
Yeah.
And if they have to sack him, I don't know who they bring in all honesty, but if they think it's drastic enough, then yes, they absolutely will sack him. Everyone likes Roy Hodgson. I love Roy Hodgson. But at the end of the day, if Palace need to survive and they think that's the course of action they need to take, then yeah, they'll 100% get rid of
But I
him.
just felt like it just would have been done by now. There hasn't been that many manager sackings so far this season. You think back to last year, there was 13 by the end of the season, and there's barely been any so far this season. But yeah, I don't know. I just felt like it would have happened by now. I mean, as I said, they played Chelsea on the weekend, so who knows what will happen in that game?
Yeah.
Either one could end up going afterwards.
But they just need a good performance. I feel like both you and them just need a good performance. Even if you lose, you just need a good performance.
Chelsea lose to. You mean if Chelsea? I think.
Okay,
if
yeah,
Chelsea
that's
lose
pretty
to Palace,
bad, but-
it could be bad.
But
Could be very
in
bad.
terms of like Palace,
no
like, I went and
Elise.
watched Palace versus Brentford, and they
Couple
won
weeks
like
ago.
what was it, like 3-1.
Yeah.
They conceded immediately, and everyone was saying at that game that it was like, if we kind of not want to lose that game, but if they lose, they're like, well, he's gone. Which I thought it's sad because I know it's like Roy Hodgson, like, is he a Palace fan? Like he loves.
He's from the area.
He's from
Yeah,
the
yeah,
area.
he loves
London,
Crystal Palace, and like obviously
What a career.
almost came back just to almost probably like a favour, like just to
He
do a
did.
job
Yeah, 'cause
sort of thing.
He'd retired, hadn't he?
Yeah,
He'd retired.
He retired and then he went to Watford.
yeah, Watford.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
God.
He did go Watford, didn't
a
he?
couple £1 million for like a month's work.
Yeah, but it must be
I'll
funny
do
because
it.
like if you've been in the game as long as he has, right?
Hard to turn it down,
if-
innit?
Retiring and then like someone's like, "Hey, Roy, do you want to come manage?" I feel like
Yeah.
you'd love it. Like
You don't have to move house.
I get that like about Mourinho, for instance. Like Mourinho will say it, and I'm just like, no, you're never gonna not be
Put me
involved. with
straight
football
back in.
somehow.
Yeah, it's like gambling.
Maybe Roy needs some like reality show post Crystal Palace where we can like retiring Roy kind of thing.
Retiring
where
Roy.
we, give him something to do because clearly he like retired, sat at home,
Just play Football Manager, mate.
stared into the abyss of his big garden and thought,
Yeah,
oh
yeah.
no,
What are you gonna do with it?
what am I going to do?
Manage the local five-a-side team. Okay, well, there we have it. We'll end it at that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you, Kieran. Thank you, Henry, for coming on the channel as well. Let us know what you guys think about all the topics that we've covered today about Arsenal. Did they over-celebrate? Get him down there. Chelsea, should Pochettino have been sacked? Let us know down below as well. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. If you have, then smash that like button. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, then hit that big red button as well. And I'll see you guys very, very soon. Bye.